Why do online estate planning forms fail families, especially in Minnesota? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm an estate planning and business law attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota, and New York City. And today let's take a look at some of these online form websites and how they can actually create more problems than they're even intended to protect you from. Before we get too far into the weeds, let's take a step back and talk about what estate planning is. So if you've listened to some podcasts, if you've read some blogs, estate planning is that term that we in the legal world use as the plan for what happens to your assets, what happens to your children, what happens to your legacy after you pass away. Often you'll hear the word estate plan to refer to the set of documents, things like trusts, wills, power of attorney, healthcare directives, HIPAA authorization, a living will, a personal property memorandum. The reason we call it a plan is because we have a whole set of documents that operates to help you with your plan from while you're still alive for things like powers of attorney and healthcare directives to after you pass away with things like your will. And then there's even a document called a trust that can take care of things while you're alive and after you have passed away. So it seems pretty straightforward. So most people will head to a website and think, okay, if I just pay a few dollars to this website, they're going to create an estate plan for me. But that misses the fact that these estate planning forms often will fail your family in a variety of ways. Some common things I see are invalid documents, instructions about how to sign things that are not necessarily correct and they're ambiguous, and we end up with estates and your legacy being dragged into court instead of being properly administered the way that you wanted it to be done. So what I will tell you is I will warn you that you get what you pay for. So if you buy an estate planning package from a website for $49, you're probably getting what you pay for. So let's look at the templates and whether or not they're going to meet Minnesota's legal formalities. So oftentimes Minnesota requires that a will is in writing, signed by the person making it, and witnessed by two people who also sign in the person's presence. Your online template might get you almost there, but what I frequently see is the vague instructions fail when it comes to the time of execution, so that you won't necessarily meet all three of those requirements. You'll have a will in writing, you're going to sign it, but we're dealing with witnesses and self-proving affidavits. That's often where your online will or your online documents are going to fall a little bit short. So, for example, let's take a look at the actual requirements so you understand why they're important. First, the signature of the person who signs the will. That confirms the authenticity of the document. So if you forget to sign it or you sign incorrectly, that's a risk for that online form. The two witnesses. This is a common question I get from my clients. Why do we have to have two witnesses? Because that prevents the idea that it was fraud or coercion when you sign the documents. This is often skipped or done incorrectly when you're working with an online form provider, whereas working with a legal professional will make sure that we're getting those two witnesses properly signing and everything is in line. The proper statutory wording, so we need to ensure that we have legal clarity about how all these things are signed and what these signatures look like. So the templates sometimes will give you the form wording for a different state. So if you're in Minnesota, you don't want to accidentally get an Iowa signature jurat, which is the way we sign things at the end. You don't want a subscribing affidavit from witnesses from Wisconsin if you're in Minnesota. So we want to make sure that we've got the right law and the right language applying. And what we have at the end is what we call that self-proving affidavit, so it avoids having the witnesses having to testify at your probate hearing. The self-proving affidavit is often omitted entirely from the online will packages. It's a very basic part of the form. It's very important when you're dealing with a will, and it's often not there when you buy your will for $49 online somewhere. The most common scenario that I'm going to see after we've gone through all this is that the will is signed, but the witnesses weren't in the room, they weren't disinterested witnesses, or they never actually signed it themselves. So we want to make sure, again, we're dotting those I's and crossing those T's. So by the time anyone notices these problems, what happens? Well, normally the person has died and the document becomes unenforceable. The person who's going to find out that there's problems is going to be your local probate court. The clerk is going to be reviewing the will that your family has submitted, and they're going to look down and say, wait a second, the signatures aren't proper, there aren't two witnesses, or you signed the wrong pages. And once that has happened and you've already passed away, there's nothing to do at that point. The will is going to be held invalid, and you're going to have to bring in an attorney and try to find a way to save it so that the will can be enforced. All of that, of course, can be avoided by just working with that attorney in the first place. Now, I want to talk to you about personally what your legacy looks like. So people assume that any kind of will do. And so why can't this basic will handle my family? The reality is that your online forms just run on a basic set of questions that apply across the board, society-wide, that the form website has decided are important. They're really just mail merging your information into the form that they think is appropriate. But the reality is your life might be a little messy. You may have a blended family, kids from a prior marriage, you may have a family member you want to disinherit. A lot of these all point to the simple fact that no family is average. Everybody has their own individual, unique ways that their legacy needs to be planned and how it needs to apply the laws for your probate. So we want to make sure that as opposed to using that average template, you're getting the unique plan that works for you and your family. A question I got last week that was pretty interesting was, what about an online will? Why does it complicate probate? The main reason is because there's either drafting errors or improper execution. Minnesota has a wonderful probate process called informal probate. It's a very streamlined probate process so that you don't even have to go in front of a judge. We prefer to provide our estates that way and to get them to go through the system, but if your will is improper or there's something wrong with it, you're going to get pulled out of that informal probate, and then you're going to start ending up with hearings before a judge, questions, and if you don't like dealing with the court system, you're going to be nervous and you're worried about things. So the reality is that online will can actually create a significant complication and drive you into probate. And of course, the irony is that you spent $49 up front, and then your family ends up spending $25,000 to $30,000 to clean up the mess on the back end. What about your family disputes? So I took a breath because this is one of the most common things I run into is these do-it-yourself forms don't really help us untangle family disputes. So if we have certain language in there, it can be a real problem. So for example, let's say your form will from the website just says, divide my assets fairly among my children. I'm not sure what fairly means. Did you mean equal? Do we need to adjust for age? Do we need to adjust for health circumstances? Another issue we run into is maybe a beneficiary is missed. Maybe you forgot to add a child or a grandchild, or maybe a grandchild or a child was born after you signed it and you never went back and did a codicil. We want to make sure our personal representative has the power to sell real estate. So if you own a house, we want to make sure that power is built into our will, and you'd be amazed to see that sometimes those online forms don't have that power actually built in. What if we just have very vague descriptions of things like my personal items with no definition as to what that means? Is that the stuff in your house? Are we adding vehicles? Is it other things in the yard? We want to make sure that the personal items are properly defined so we know what your personal representative is dealing with when it's time to distribute your assets. And then what if we have conflicting documents? So let's say your will says one thing, but your beneficiary designations on all your financial planning documents say something different. Those beneficiary designations actually override your will, and then you've created this gap between what you thought your legacy was going to look like and what the beneficiary designations make happen. So then we've created that problem, and your family's very frustrated because they all thought one thing was going to happen, and then you find out it's something completely different. When people come to my office and they're looking for an estate plan, one of the common questions they have is, how can I avoid probate? If you're going to avoid probate, just using a simple will from a $49 website online will not help you avoid probate court. We need to do some more advanced planning, usually using things like beneficiary designations, transfer on death deeds, trusts. All these things, when they're appropriate, can keep those assets out of the probate court. None of that is going to be swept up in your $49 online will. That's just going to give you the basic, here's my will, here's what's going to happen. And that document is actually designed to go through the probate court, not to avoid it. We've talked briefly as well about beneficiary designations, and again, what happens with the beneficiary designation is no matter what your will or your trust says, the beneficiary designation, if it says it goes to Susan, that asset goes to Susan, even if your will says, I want all of my assets to go to Joe. So you need to understand the way beneficiary designations work, especially on things like retirement accounts and life insurance policies. And if you don't understand that and you're just filling out an online form for $49, you can be creating a lot of ambiguity and some more of that family drama that we're looking to avoid. A big thing you need to consider is what we call incapacity planning. And that is, if you are sick and you're unable to make decisions for yourself, is that will going to provide incapacity planning? The simple answer is no, because the will does not become effective until you pass away. So if you've named your brother Joe as the personal representative under your will, and you become sick and you need somebody to help you manage your financial affairs, Joe can't go to the bank and say, look, see, I'm the personal representative, I can sign in the bank. It doesn't work that way. You need a power of attorney. If you want Joe to help you with healthcare decisions, we need a healthcare directive. That simple will that you bought for $49 is not going to give you any kind of incapacity planning. So hopefully the main lesson you've learned from all of this is that it's important to involve a lawyer because we want some kind of legal guidance. And most people, when they come to my office, are scared they're going to get a huge hourly bill at the end of the month, and every time they call or email, there's going to be another ding on the bill, and it just gets too expensive and overwhelming. One of the good things about working with a lawyer, and especially if you're working with my office, is that we do it on a flat fee. So at the beginning, you'll understand how much all these documents will cost. You'll understand what we're doing, what the documents look like, how they work together. The idea is that you're involved in the process, you understand the documents that you're signing so that you're not surprised at the end. You don't get a big bill and you aren't signing documents that you don't understand. Hopefully you can see now how some of these online wills can actually create more problems than they're intended to solve. If you have more questions, you can head over to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red button on the main page that'll take you to my scheduling calendar where we can set up a 15 or 20-minute legal strategy session to go through your estate planning needs and determine what's best for you. Maybe you already have an estate plan and we're just going to take a quick look and see if anything needs to be updated. If you like this video, you can hit the like or thumbs up button below. You can subscribe on YouTube or ayerslawtv.com for future episodes. And remember, those simple $49 online wills, they may seem like the easy way forward, but they can also create a lot more problems than they're ever intended to protect you against.